Hello friends, in this video we are going to see what is constant and there are different types of constant present in C programming. We'll see in details. Constants. A constant is any value that cannot be changed during the program execution. A constant is a value which is given to the identifier and you cannot change that value. That will be defined for the whole program constantly. Next, in C, any number, single character, or a character string is known as a constant. Next, C constant can be divided into three major categories. There are three types of constants are present. First is numeric constant. Second is character constant. And third is string constant. We'll see each and every in a detailed format. The first, that is numeric constant. A numeric constant consists of digits. It requires minimum size of 2 bytes and maximum till 4 bytes of data. Next, it can be positive or negative, but by default the sign is always positive. Next, no comma or a space is allowed within the numeric constant. It must have at least one digit. That means at least one value you have to provide while defining any of the numeric constant. Next, the range for the integer constant is -32768 to 32767. It is categorized an integer constant and real constant. That means either you can store the integer constant or you can store the real constant. Now we'll see in details. The integer constants are the whole numbers without decimal points. Different types of integer constants are: the first is decimal constant, the second is octal constant, and the third is hexadecimal constants. The decimal constants can be stored from 0 to 9. So for that, we have specified the base as it 10. So 10 values we can store, so we can say there are 10 decimal constants. Octal constant. In octal constants, you can store the different constants from 0 to 7. So we can say the base of octal constant is always 8. Next is hexadecimal constants. So for that, you having the values from 0 to 9 and the next values will start after the 9 is A to F. So there are total 16 values are present. So we can say the base is 16. Next, in decimal constant, the first digit should not be 0. Unlike the octal constant, the first digit must be 0. Next, in hexadecimal constant, the first two digits should be 0x or 0 capital X. Means if you want to store any decimal value, so you cannot write like 0 to 6 for decimal. Okay? But if you want to store some octal value like 07, so it is allowed. And if you want to store some hexadecimal value, So for that you have to provide 0, x with a 24. Fine. So this is some naming conventions are given to define a particular constants, integer constants. Next, real constant. It is also called as a floating point constant. To construct the real constant, we have to follow certain rules. First is, it must have at least one digit. Next, it must have a decimal point. Next, it could be positive or a negative. Next, the default sign is always positive. Next, no comma or a blank are allowed. Next type of constant is character constant. In character constants, whatever value you are representing, that you have to store in a single quotes. For example, A or a capital A, or I can say at the rate sign. But for each and every character, you have to specify the single quote. Next, this can be a single digit, a specific symbol, or a white spaces. Anything. If you want to specify a null value, that also you can do with the single quotes. Next, every character constant has a unique integer like a ASCII value, that is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So each and every special character as well as the letter is having a particular value which is predefined by the ASCIIs. And through that value, the compiler can understand that what type of character you are storing. Like you can store A to Z, capital A to Z. The ASCII value for capital A to Z is 65 to 90. Then for small a to z, the ASCII value is 97 to 122. Then for 0 to 9, the ASCII value is 48 to 59. And for comma, the ASCII value is 59. So there are multiple values from each lowercase and uppercase are defined from the ASCII standard. Next constant is string constant. A set of character is called as a string. When sequence of a character are enclosed within the double quotes, it can be the combination of all kind of symbols is called as string constant. Consider if you want to store the name as consider a Michi. So you have to store this name in the double quotes. Or consider if you want to write a particular name like I'll say email address. So how will write consider xyz at the rate gmail.com. So for that also you have to write a double quotes because this is a bunch of character and a bunch of character is called as a string. Next, a string constant has 0, 1 or more than 1 characters. At the end of the string, by default, the null character is automatically placed by the compiler to predefine that the end of the string value. Next, for example, comma, Sarathina 908 3, the null value A, etc. Next type of constant is symbolic constant. Symbolic constant is the name only says that if you want to store any sequence of character or the characters that can be numeric character or string, right? If you want to store the combinations of something, so you can use some symbolic constants. Like these constants are generally at the beginning of the program as like hash define name values. Then here the name generally return in the uppercase because to specify that this type of name is symbolic constant. Hash define is the preprocessor directive. Through that you can define the constant and whatever will be the variable name that should be in the character or the uppercase. And after that whatever you're writing that is a value for that particular variable. Next, consider hash define ch is a variable name and I'm saying that single quotes of b is a character. Next, hash define name in the double quotes we are saying Sony. So I can store a string value also as a constant using symbolic constants. So in this video we have seen in details of what is constant. There are basically four types of constant. First is numeric constant, second is character constant, third is string constant, and fourth is symbolic constant. Thank you.